Sadly, we've gotten used to gun violence in Sweden, so we have a lot of killings.
Organized crime has discovered that young people willing to do something bad, like shoot someone, to earn lots of money.
The most common routes of illegal weapons is former Yugoslavia post-war.
Interesuje me gdje se koristi, bitno da se proda. Do kupca, do plemi robova, šta će mi dalje da rade s njim, pa me ne interesuje.
On the 24th of September 2024, Kai went to work as usual at a high school south of Stockholm. But that morning, he arrived to an unexpected scene.
I saw all the police cars and ambulances, so I asked the policeman to brief me, and he told me that there has been a shooting in a toilet.
A 15-year-old boy had shot his 14-year-old classmate in the face.
And they thought at first that he had just got punched on his nose. He was bleeding heavily. He said, "I have been shot." And they looked into his mouth and they saw the bullet. He was a child, and he thought that he should bring the gun to school. Like small kids bring the teddy bears to school and show the other friends, "Oh, look, I have a new thing."
Something I did never expect to see in Sweden. Swedish child soldiers.
The weapon was a Zastava M70, a single-action, semi-automatic pistol, made in Serbia. A week earlier, the shooter had taken on a contract to kill someone. Like many other teenagers, he had been lured into a culture of guns and criminality through music videos and other online content.
You see a lot of young children involved in murders. The gang's presence in social media has made the barrier so much smaller for vulnerable teenagers to find these ads. I say ads because they're very clear. It can stand looking for a shooter. So they're job ads visible on social media without any interference from the big tech platforms.
To prove the job is done, they film themselves and upload the footage of their crimes on social media.
It has become very common that totally innocent people are being gunned down and killed in shootings.
Michael Janicki was shot and killed in front of his son after a confrontation with some gang members.
I remember that I got a call from my son, and I wasn't home. I was at a birthday party 6 hours away from here. But he just said that something had happened, and he gave the police the phone. And the police just told me that Michael had been in an accident. And I just felt that something horrible had happened. And so when I called back, and Michael's sister was answering, and then she told me that he got shot and killed that site. The 6 hours that it took for us to come to Stockholm, it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Like, I just wanted to be with my son and hug him and just, you know, be close to him. And just the thought of him seeing his father getting shot, it was just like a horror movie that was playing in my head, like over and over.
Police later found this photo of the shooter on the phone of one of his friends. The weapon, an ECOL 9mm, a starting gun designed only to fire blanks that had been modified to fire live rounds. How do weapons like these end up on the streets of Sweden?
The most common routes of illegal weapons to Sweden, the route is mainly former Yugoslavian war weapons that end up in our streets. And it's quite surprising that still, so many years later, war arms end up killing young teenagers in Sweden.
Millions of them were lost during the war or after the war. So there's still a lot of those circulating, and it's possible to purchase them. And where there's a demand, well, that's where the guns end up, most likely. And there's been a great demand for firearms in Sweden in the recent years.
Customs officers only managed to catch a few of them as they're being smuggled into the country.
This is from the bridge from Denmark in September last year. There's a car coming over the bridge. A woman in her 50s is driving it. We pull it over. We don't have any prior intelligence. And we look into the trunk. But when we remove the luggage, in here you see a parcel. And in that there are 2 assault rifles. This is a Zastava M70 AB. There's a picnic basket. Well, in the bottom of the picnic basket there are 2 pistols. Zastava M57, 2 of the most common pistols seized in criminal networks in Sweden. Next to this picnic basket, there's a container with 16 hand grenades.
To understand how these weapons got here, we followed their trail all the way back to the Balkans. The route is never direct. Crisscrossing the continent from city to city, from seller to buyer, from vehicle to vehicle, along highways and back roads to the source. This arms trafficker agreed to speak to us provided we kept his identity hidden.
What's up? Give me the money.
He showed us some of the weapons he sells on the black market.
Može se obezbedi poluautomatsko i automatsko. Znači duge cijevi i kratke cijevi. Može čak i minobacač, može zolje i oso i sve se.
What about hand grenades?
Ona može se nađe tu 20-30 eura do 50. RP je od 500 do 700.
What would it cost, for example, for a standard AK-47 from the factory over in Serbia?
Isto od 500 pa do 1000 eura, zavisi.
Many of the weapons that turn up in Sweden are made in the Balkans and become part of a culture of bloodletting here in Montenegro. A small country with one of the highest rates of civilian gun ownership in the world. And it's estimated that around 40% of them are owned illegally.
The criminal groups that use those weapons are very serious. They are very violent, and they are ready to use guns if that is their own interest.
It's all part of a system that's been shaped by corruption, smuggling, and political power.
You know, we were quite often called as a mafia state, or the state that is owned by mafia, that we do not have problem with mafia. Mafia has its own institutions here.
Few deny the connection between crime and politics.
Ne može se desiti razvoj organizovanog kriminala, korupcije, bez dakle saradnje i dosluha sa državnim službenicima, a na visokom nivou i u velikim iznosima kriminala i korupcije, bez korupcije na visokom nivou.
Montenegro is a country of extraordinary beauty. Venetian towns strung along an Adriatic coastline. One of these is Bar, a tourist resort and a major port long known as the gateway to the Balkans, and also a gateway for smuggling. From the ridge behind the port, a hidden warehouse comes into view. Containers tucked out of sight behind a bluff.
You saw the location behind the hill, which is not quite, accessible. The one thing is sure that in order to use that warehouse, you must go through the port of Bar. So you must have these special licenses to go to there.
What does that mean for people who want to traffic weapons?
Well, I think that, the port of Bar is something that they still possibly could consider.
Further along the coast, promenades lined with cocktail bars serve flashy marinas, hinting at the profits of illicit trade. Montenegro's former president and prime minister, Milo Đukanović, has long denied allegations that smuggling networks sustained his rule for decades.
Back in those days, there was a fusion of organized crime and the state.
Đukanović was one of Europe's longest-serving leaders. He lost his presidency in 2023, but the criminal networks in operation while he was in power remain intact, and their consequences still ripple across the region.
We collect data on incidents with firearms that happen throughout the region that are reported in the media.
CSAC is a UN-affiliated gun control organization. Its online platform maps the crisis in real time.
Over 2,600 people have been threatened with firearms. Over 2,000 have been injured. And as I said, over almost 800 have actually been killed.
They also organize weapons destruction events, removing thousands of guns from circulation each year. But the supply shows no sign of slowing. Our trafficker says some even come directly from the Zastava arms factory in Kragujevac, Serbia.
Imaš ljude na pozicijama, lako se zoveš visoko rangirani i niže rangirani.
It's the largest weapons factory in the Balkans. Millions of guns manufactured here during the Balkan Wars are still available on the black market. And new ones come off the production lines every day.
This rifle is a modified, well-known M70B1, which was many decades in use in the Yugoslavian and Serbian army. There is many hundreds, thousands rifles of that type in the world.
These glossy displays hide a darker side. Transparency International gave Zastava the lowest possible rating, just 2 points out of 112. No anti-corruption program, no oversight, no disclosure of its agents. In short, a state-owned factory with virtually no accountability.
The research from Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime shows actually that weapons from Zastava are usually smuggled in the Western Balkans. So it's very available on the black market. The second reason is price. It's very cheap.
They've become a staple of violent crime across the continent. 4 of the weapons used in the Paris attacks in 2015 were Zastava M70 assault rifles. 130 people were killed there.
Definitivno je dokazano da taj šverc oružja prema Parizu je bio vrlo unosan za kriminalne grupe, a nije ga bilo teško prenijeti.
And another was used by a gunman in Vienna in 2020. He killed 4 people. Military-grade weapons have been moving around Europe for decades. But more recently, criminal groups have found a new source of merchandise: blank-firing guns.
They are purchased on the EU market because they are easily accessible on the EU market, and then they are smuggled into the Western Balkans where they are converted, and then they are smuggled back into the EU, but as live-firing pistols.
The trafficker had one for sale. It was one of these that was used to kill Michael Janicki. In Montenegro, too, civilians often pay the highest price. In 2022, in the town of Cetinje, a lone gunman killed 10 people in a matter of minutes. Maya's brother was one of them.
On je postao otac I ništa nije slutilo da će se njegov život tako rano završiti. Njegova sreća mjesec dana posle rođenja ćerke. I kad sija sunca, nekako je tama nad gradom. Jako mi je teško da govorim na ovu temu.
With authorities confused about what was happening, some of the victims had walked unknowingly onto the scene.
Par ljudi koje je stradalo je prošlo pored policije. Oni su naknadno dolazili, željeli su da vide što je sa njihovim članovima porodica, što se dešava I tako su stradali.
Three years later, on New Year's Day, in the same town, a man went home to retrieve his gun after a bar fight. He killed 11 people, including the bar owner's children and some of his own relatives, before turning the gun on himself. Since then, friends and family members of the victims have blocked the main highway for 3 hours a day in protest. Vesna lost her daughter and 2 grandsons in the first shooting.
Ova upravo država, monstrumu prije masakra, nije oduzela oružje za koje je imala sve indicije I čak I sudsku presudu, jer nimalo nije bio miran, no je stvarao probleme I vlast je zaćutala.
As demands for stricter gun control grow, the new government says it's trying.
U prvoj polovini 2025. godine imali smo upravo I nakon ove tragedije na Cetinju oko 2335 pretresa stanova I vozila širom Crne Gore. Oduzeto je oko 770 komada oružja, 36.000 komada municije I 202 komada eksplozivnih sredstava.
But are these efforts really slowing the smugglers down?
Sad se malo zaoštrila se situacija da malo, dobro, to samo prolazi malo vremena dok se malo ne smire strasti, da može da se nastavi ponovo da se radi normalno.
How effective are the authorities trying to stop what you're doing?
Pa, trenutno nisu baš uspješni.
The reason, he says, is that his network reaches directly into the state.
Ovi su ljudi iz vlasti koji su mnogo na mlakim pozicijama I oni diktiraju to sve. Policajci, vojna lica, državna bezbjednost.
Today we have a new government. Nevertheless, there's a strong legacy and many tentacles of the former regime. And some of them have managed to accommodate to the new circumstances.
Montenegrin traffickers don't operate in isolation. The breakup of Yugoslavia left its new states divided.
The ethnicities that were waging wars against each other when it comes to criminal business, they cooperate extremely well.
The town of Rojaje is a crucial junction on the road west for weapons, drugs, and people.
Roža je na takvom položaju da blizina Kosova i desetak ilegalnih puteva kojima se zaobilaze zvanični granični prelaz i zvanični granični prelazi lako prenosi bilo koja vrsta robe.
This remote mountain road hidden by dense forest leads to Kosovo, away from checkpoints, away from scrutiny. In fact, according to our GPS, it takes us close to the Serbian border too. Montenegro, Serbia, and Kosovo. One road, 3 countries, no signs, no barriers. Here, the borders become meaningless.
Kosovo, Serbia, Montenegro, that triangle. So usually weapons are smuggled in cars.
And from there, the route into the European Union is well established.
Which is the easiest EU country to get into from the Balkans?
Pa, Hrvatska. Iz Hrvatske, Italija. Zultmana završio posao.
We spent a morning filming at a crossing on the Montenegro-Croatia border. Not a single car was searched. Like everyone else, we were waved through without so much as a glance at our car. And from here, it is smooth sailing.
Da, otvaranje granica da može već je laganija, to je već lapjest. No border.
Weapons can move piece by piece from country to country, along motorways hidden in the ordinary traffic of Europe.
They are smuggled often in motor vehicles, and they go through multiple borders before arriving in Sweden. It can be a commercial transport of goods where the truck driver is involved. It can be on a bus where someone is taking the bus from Western Balkan region up towards Sweden, and it's hidden in the luggage. So many different ways of smuggling these guns to Sweden. Sadly, we've gotten used to gun violence in Sweden, so we have a lot of killings. Many different factors, but why is this happening in Sweden and not equally in Denmark or Norway or Finland? I don't really have the answers for that.
There is shootings, lots of shootings, and the politicians in the municipality have realized that schools have to have a plan what to do when it happens. It wasn't a question of if it would happen, it was more like when will it happen.
I think that we need to act before someone gets killed, not only for ourselves, but for the children, for our next generation, for our future.